I'm Terry Griffiths, and you might remember me from such presentations as Introduction, and of course there'll be more to follow. This little element I wanted to do is to remind you of the origins and principles of evidence-based teaching. So the evidence really that came from this was compiled mainly by Jeff Petty, but over the many years, we're talking 40 odd years now, the evidence has been compiled by a number of different educationalists like Hattie from New Zealand, Mazzano from Colorado, and loads of others that basically took elements that they could introduce into the classroom as opposed to doing nothing and just firing information, shut up, sit still, here it comes, pin your ears back and the information comes. Just sort of it was in the 60s and before. So what they tried to do is he and all his educationalist friends travelled different places, took different colleges, schools, universities for higher education, young students, middle-aged students, mature students, and basically what they wanted to try to do was to introduce the elements that they thought could help in the classroom, and they wanted to see what effect that would have. So they would go around to a number of different places and colleges, and they would take their students and they would test them on a particular subject. That could be any subject at all. They've got to give them a base knowledge of actually what they need. So they test them all, and when they actually got them out this test, they would then split them into two groups. Now what they'd really be looking at is they'd be the first group and the second group. These groups out of this group of students would be split as equally as they could. So, background, intelligence, ethics, all these different things, and they would try to group them as evenly as possible. Two very intelligent, one in each. Two from two particular different backgrounds, or similar backgrounds, sorry, put them in one in group. Now, they would be taught by the same teacher. One, fire and forget if you like. Tell your students it, hope it sticks, off you go. And this one, they'd introduce a new technique. They would then, when the subject's been taught, they would bring them back again and they would test them again. So they've both been taught the same subject by the same person, but the test showed differences. And what they did is this first group, if you were to think about the grade across the bottom, so this is their grade, and this is the students. Our first group, some wouldn't sort of get a lot, but there'd be more and more people, yeah, okay, the grade's getting better, and then of course there's less people get the higher grades. So our curve would look a little like that. Sort of more students got the average, lesser students got more higher grade, and some students didn't really get many at all. Then the other group, they found that this curve squeaked and shifted. And what they did is they found that the average grade of the two differed. So the grade at which the point of the people who got the most actually shifted. And that was there to see that because of this type of influence that was introduced into the classroom, it actually shifted the average grade up. Which is where we talk about the effect size. Now this is the size of the effect that they introduced into the classroom made to the overall score. You can see that if this is an average, and that might be a particular percentage, it's actually gone up a little bit. And what we now talk about is any effect that got us, and this will mean more when we come to Jeff's donut, anything that gives us an effect size of 0.5, now bear with me, because that 0.5 worked out through standard deviation is much better explained by Jeff Petty's website, and information that you will get from Jeff Petty's donut and the 7 principles later on. That is 1 grade at GCSE. And when I say 1 grade, I mean if you were to use a technique in the classroom that had an effect size proven by these to have an effect size which you'll see in the book, they would likely get 1 grade higher than these guys. If you could find an effect size of 1, you could likely get a grade increase of 2 grades at GCSE. Now this is evidence-based. This was set down with thousands of these people, and each of these different techniques, one at a time, would boost the actual marks that the students got. And this is where, when we talk of origins and principles, we talk about everything that was done. Now later on, in Jeff Petty's donut and the 7 principles which he abided by that gave us these increases, we will talk about the 6 best ones that we think you can probably get in the class that are probably the easiest and are likely to give the biggest effect. So there it is. That's the basics of the origins and principles of evidence-based teaching. Something factual that was actually proven to have an effect on students' results. Watch out for the further videos, little basic insights and the links within the book that can give you more information to read and brush up just to keep yourself in while we all return to work. Okay, thank you.